Hello, and welcome to the Inner Bully Beatdown podcast. I am your host, Brittany Fowler. I am also the author of the book, Inner Bully Beatdown. I am also a breakthrough mentor and motivational speaker. So if you would like me to come speak to you, please visit my website at brittanyfowler.com. Enjoy this podcast. Hello, and welcome to the Inner Bully Beatdown podcast. Guys, it has been a while since I have posted. So many things have been going on, but mostly just dealing with my own struggles and not feeling like I could bring value to you for a while. But I'm back because I feel like I've had an epiphany that I want to share, and hopefully it helps you today. In my office, I have this barn door that's huge and black and awesome. And behind it, I have, like when it slides back and forth on the wall, I have an old memoir frame of me playing softball in college. So all my pictures that were ever taken of me, which aren't a lot, of the 4 years that I played college softball, I have in that memoir frame, along with signatures from the day that I graduated. Like everybody on my team wrote a little message. And there's also a picture of my freshman year of the team when we won our division and were able to go to nationals. And on that picture, I have the biggest smile on my face. All of us have the biggest smiles on our faces. And I had everybody sign that matte frame that's inside it. So I've got this huge, I'm talking, it's like the size of a small TV picture frame on my wall of just pure awesomeness. Like, I love looking at those photos. I love looking, and because it brings up a flood of memories of the people and the coaches and the hits that I got, the hits that I didn't get, the awesome plays I had that I can still remember. And you know what's funny about it is I don't remember a lot of the bad. I mostly remember the good. And I think one of my favorite memories is from freshman year. Our team got ripped up that whole season. I mean, we had injuries out the wazoo. We only had 13 members on our roster, and a couple of those were walk-ons. And it was a rough year. Everybody seemed to get hurt. We had a girl that was playing third base, got slid into, and it cut the skin off of her shin, like it gave it a big slice. So she had stitches and couldn't play for a while. That same tournament, I ended up shattering the tip of my middle finger on my right hand because I was catching, and I went to go block a ball, and the ball ended up hitting the corner of the plate instead of the plate or the dirt. So it took a funny hop and came straight for my hand instead of my glove. And I shattered the tip of my finger and dislocated that joint and ended up having to have surgery. And I was out most of that season. And I was so frustrated because you work all fall and you do your best, and then you can't play. And I couldn't redshirt because I had already played too many games that season to technically redshirt. And so I just had to sit out. And I hate sitting out. And there wasn't much good that I could do except for catch a ball. So I caught a lot of balls for pitchers, even though I had to roll it back. Like I couldn't throw, I couldn't bat, I couldn't do a lot of things. And finally, about a month before the end of the season, I got the pins out of my finger because I had to have surgery. And so my batting average was crappy. I mean, I was 130 batting average because I hadn't had a lot of at-bats. And so the bad at-bats I did have were really affecting me. And we were coming into the home stretch, and the coach was letting me play. I was playing right field and sometimes catcher. And I remember we were coming into the final tournament, and coach said, "Look, well, I'm going to play my best players all the time, and I don't want to hear that you're upset because you're not playing, because this is go time, right? Like we're in the tournament, we win this, we go to nationals. Like if your batting average isn't high, you're not going to play. I don't care how good you think you are, yada, yada, like laying it on the line." And I knew my batting average wasn't good, but I also knew that my batting average did not reflect the type of hitter I was because of my injury, and I knew I could do it. So a couple days before the tournament, I went into coach just during the day, and I said, hey, I know what you said about not playing the girls or the players that don't have a really good batting average, and I know that I'm one of them. But then I said, but I also know that batting average does not reflect the type of hitter that I am. And I want you to know that if you call on me at any time, I will give 1,000%. And I just felt like I had to do that. And not that I was begging to play, but it was letting him know that I was ready, regardless of when he did play me. And I let my parents know. I said, look, this is what's going on. You probably won't see me play much. But they came anyway to the tournament because they came to all my games and were awesome. And it came down, that tournament was crazy. Like, to win any kind of tournament or any kind of championship, you have to have luck on your side. Like, nobody can win a championship without a little luck. And we were the lucky team, man. We scraped by on some of those games, and it came down to the semifinals where we were both in the winner's bracket, and we knew we had to win because chances were we probably couldn't beat this team 3 times, right? Because if you go in the loser's bracket, you'd have to play and then beat them twice. So you'd have to beat them. So we only would have to beat them that game and then the next game because they would have to come back from the loser's bracket. And we were down. It was top of the 7th. And there's only 7 innings in softball, not 9 like baseball, if you're not familiar. So it's top of the 7th, and we were struggling. We were down by 1. They had their best pitcher in, and there's 2 outs. There's a base runner on first, and we needed a hit. Coach puts me in, and I'm ready. Like, I had this feeling, like gearing up for it. Like, I knew I was ready. I knew it. And I step in the batter's box, and I know I'm going to get a hit. And I end up fouling off like 4 or 5 pitches, and I am down in the count, meaning that pitcher has pitched a lot of strikes. She's pitched a lot of balls. I let a few balls go, and I work my way back from being 0-2, like 0 balls, 2 strikes, to being 3-2. And I'm fouling off pitches, and I'm letting some go. And finally, I get this inspiration. She's going to throw her changeup because I'm right on all these balls. Like, if you're fouling the ball, you've just barely missed it somehow, right? Like, your timing was just a tiny bit off, or your bat was just a little bit under, or whatever. And I could talk about softball for hours and hitting and all that. But I had this idea. She's going to throw me her changeup. And so I was expecting it. Like, it was like I knew it. It wasn't like I was guessing. It was like I knew what was going to happen in that moment. I was so in tune with what was going on. Sure enough, she throws her changeup which is her wicked pitch. And I end up smashing it between her legs. Like, she didn't even have time to go down and try and get it. Like, it bounces through her legs up the middle, and I end up getting on base, and the base runner on first ends up making it to third. Next batter gets up, and we end up winning that game on a string. We ended up coming ahead in that inning, and then at the bottom of the 7th, crazy things happened to where we ended up winning that game. And then the next game we won as well. So we ended up winning the championship. But I remember that at-bat being more than just an at-bat. That at-bat was something that I had prepared for my entire life every time that I would hit the ball. Every time that I would practice my 100 swings a day. Every time my dad and I would get up early and head down to the church gym and take the pitching machine and the wiffle balls. And he would, 6 a.m. in the morning, we were down there at least 4 or 5 times a week in the winter, because it's freezing in Utah in the winter. We would be hitting balls in the church gym. And in those wiffle balls, all of them were green, except for one of them was white. And that white ball represented pressure. So my dad would always say, hey, there's a base runner at 2. You have 2 outs. You know, like trying to put pressure situations with this ball. So every time this ball came up, I knew that I had to have my best swing. I knew that I had to get my mind right. It wasn't just practice. It was game practice. And I remember, like, every time that ball would come up when I would do my own swings, like I was mentally preparing for that moment in time since I was like 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Like, it was something I knew I could do. And I remember after the game, after my at-bat, Coach told the girls the rest of the story, where I had come in and I had said, look, when you call on me, I will be ready. I don't know why I'm crying. And he took his hat off and he tipped it to me and he just said, you're amazing. Like, you did it. You did exactly what you said you were going to do. And it wasn't just me. Like, I didn't win the game, but I stepped in when others couldn't do it. And I miss those days when I feel like I made a difference. I miss those days when it wasn't just mundane. I miss those days when I could show what I was made of and the world didn't get the better of me. I don't know if you guys ever watch America's Got Talent, but I think one of my favorite contestants on that show was Drew Lynch from like 2016. He was a comedian that stuttered. And for some reason, he was my very, very, very favorite competitor because of his story. I remember at his audition, he talked about how he had a softball injury that damaged his vocal cords. Like, the softball took a bad hop and came up and hit his throat and damaged his vocal cords to where he had a stutter. And if you go back and you search his like audition, like on YouTube, he'll tell you the story. But he says, you know, the person that I used to be would never want to hang out with the person that I am now because I was a jerk. I was a complete jerk. And I thought it was a privilege that you would talk to me. Of course, he's saying all this with a stutter. And he's been humbled, right? Like, he was just this humble guy getting up where he was forced to be humbled and forced to turn his life around in a way that made him grow. And anyway, he's like one of my favorite ever contestants. And he said something, you know, when he said the old me would never want to hang out with the new me. I said, would the old me want to hang out with the new me? Would the old me want to hang out with the new me? I don't know. Would that softball loving, competitive athlete look at me now and say, what happened to you? Or why'd you let the fight go out of you? Because it's not about what I have. I mean, I have a beautiful home. I have a beautiful family. I have a great husband. But it's not about what I have. It's about who I've become. And I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure that the old me would like the new me. But some of you may be thinking, look, like, the old me was terrible. They would the reason why they wouldn't want to hang out with the new me is because I'm much better now. Like, I'm a totally different person. And man, I applaud you. I feel like sometimes I feel like I've got it, you know, like I've got it going and I'm making a difference. And then sometimes I just feel lost in who I am. I know a lot of women feel that way too. We were so focused on what we'd have, a husband and a family and a home, that we didn't stop to think who we would be, who that would mold us into. At least I didn't. So I guess my question to you is, are you better today than you were yesterday? Because that's all I can be. I can try to be better today than I was yesterday, and I can't compare myself to the person I was years ago because so much has happened. Right? You can't be the same person you were years ago. It's impossible. But you can try to be the person you'd want to hang out with. Friendly, kind, honorable, honest, loving. And some days we will struggle. We will struggle to be that character. But some days we will win. We will triumph. So hang in there. And I'm kind of saying that for myself. I'm sorry, half of this podcast is me talking through crying. But it is what it is. I know that we can change. I know that we can be better. I know that sometimes our inner bullies just win. But I also know that we have the power to overcome these darn inner bullies that make you think that you are less than worthy. It's a journey. It's a journey, and I hope that you are supported on your journey today. From the bottom of my heart to yours, I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you can't get enough or need more support with terminating your inner bullies, please join us on Facebook at Inner Bully Beatdown Podcast. We hope to see you there. Have a great day.